We're going to go live for our friends over on YouTube also. Welcome to Wastrel Wednesdays. Kyle will be with us here momentarily. And for those of you out there in internet land, if you can, please, once Kyle gets here, if you could let us know how we're doing on audio, that will be hunky-dory. I've got this lovely new set of studio headphones. These are, who makes these? These are made by AKG, but they came highly recommended. They're full ear coverage headphones, and I've made some adjustments in OBS where hopefully you guys will be able to completely hear Kyle and he won't come across as a raspy whisper where people have got to blow out their audio just to even faintly hear him. So that is the hope. That is the hope. I can see you're getting very good levels from me. Facebook doesn't seem to be missing any audio. And likewise over on the YouTubes. It looks like, if I go to Stream Health, Stream is healthy. Stream settings, Stream Health. So anyway, how is everyone tonight? I'm doing swell. Kyle was just regaling us. Apparently, Australia has gone back into, or his state in Australia has gone back into COVID lockdown, and all the fun that can bring. But I hope you're all healthy and happy out there. All one of you viewing right now. Click on the old analytics. There we go. Anyway. So yeah, I got the new studio headphones here. And I wanted the full over the ear so, they wouldn't be all perched up like that. You'd have a nice, good recording look, as it were. I'm going to step away for just a half a second. And I'm going to grab my little fan because it's cold and rainy where Kyle is, which is why he's not broadcasting from the man cave gymnasium sanctuary. Where I am, it's still, I think, 94 degrees outside and the sun has already gone down. So I'm going to go get my little fan and grab some gaming dice, and then I'm going to be back. And I'll leave you in the capable hands of Kyle, who has returned to the desk. Kyle Schuant, everyone. Welcome, Kyle.
Hey, boys and girls. I hope you can hear us. I'm not on Facebook, so I can't see the stream there. Can you hear us on YouTube? How's our volume? We've had consistent problems with that. One session I'm too loud for anyone to bear listening to. And then another session, I'm too quiet. So, Masonus, if you can hear us, let us know. Thank you, passerby. We may finally have figured out all the drama, though perhaps I speak too soon. So the plan so far today is this. Playing this again. That's the plan.
Yup. We're gonna do
so that's up to Bill.
We're gonna do some conflict. I think if conflict gets popular enough, I'm gonna start going to gaming conventions, LARPing as a conflict player. Just, sneakers, beige chinos, slightly outsized polo shirt, an airsoft M4, and granny glasses, and just look completely bored with everything. That is the operator. That is the operator phenotype. And if you don't believe me, look online. General Norman Schwarzkopf's bodyguard during ODS Of course, the mighty Leo Prinsloo. It's not Dutch from Commando, guys. It's just a dude who looks like he should be teaching 8th grade mathematics in your local middle school.
Yeah, like the glasses dude in Sicario.
Yeah, exactly. I think, was that Gary Oldman who played him?
Nah, no. Let's throw it out to the audience, see if they're quicker than Google. Who played the glasses dude in Sicario?
Yes. Speaking of our audience, I should point out while they're looking, we have now surpassed 660 viewers. We are now sitting at 663 subs, drawing ever closer to a possible karaoke of Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden, although that might get us copyright struck. Which I don't think they would do it because, we're trying to use their song for promotional material. I think they would do it to protect themselves from having to hear me sing Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. But thank you, everyone who has subbed. Welcome to all of our new subs. And it is greatly appreciated. All of you guys who are joining us. Whether you've been with my YouTube channel from day one back in 2014 or 2015 whenever I started this, or you just joined us this week, welcome and thank you. You're awesome. We do it for you guys, and the same follows for our YouTube or Facebook viewers, although I'd appreciate it if you come over to YouTube and give us a subscribe and hit the bell and give us a like if you like the video. You can still watch us over on Facebook. Just step over here to YouTube and do that.
Operator Steve Forcing was played by a guy called Jeffrey Donovan.
Wow.
Jeffrey Donovan.
No idea who that is.
Yeah. Jeffrey Donovan was in Honest Thief, Let Him Go, Lucy in the Sky, Villains, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. In LBJ, as John F. Kennedy. He was in the Fargo TV series. In J. Edgar, as Robert Kennedy. Apparently, they think he looks like a Kennedy.
You've got a thing for Kennedys.
He's been on episodes of Law and Order and stuff. But importantly, apparently he is in Wrath of Man, the new Jason Statham vehicle.
Interesting.
So he seems to be one of those guys who just quietly goes ahead, does his job over many years, and never becomes the leading man. But never embarrasses himself on Instagram by saying anything racist or anything like that, and he just plods along. He goes, he does his job, he goes home.
My favorite kind of actor.
That kind of guy.
That is my favorite kind of actor right there. Paul mentions he was the lead in the TV show Burn Notice. Now, I was a fan of Burn Notice, and I never realized that, and I have seen a lot of Sicario. So he was an operator in Burn Notice. He was an operator in Sicario. He's playing to a type.
So it seems, except when he's playing Kennedys.
Except when he's playing Kennedys. And you could make you could make the... It'd be a bit of a reach, but you could say that JFK was a bit of an operator himself. I mean, kept his men safe on that island after his Chris Kraft got cut.
Passerby says that Wrath of Man begs to be replayed in Conflict. I think that's very possible. I haven't seen it yet. I've only seen the clips. But it might be a little bit more action movie. Conflict is more heat than Wrath of Man. Conflict is the team of pretty fragile guys. It's not so much the... I guess you could really do it. You just give the hero like readiness 5 or something. So he can be shooting a guy around one corner, and then he just turns the corner and adjusts his pants. He uses an action to adjust his pants so he still looks good, and then shoots another couple of guys. There's
a film, and I would actually dig seeing a conflict scenario, but back in 1972, before Somalia completely imploded, there was a hostage situation with children of French military advisors, Legion d'Etrangers, and just government official types. France was in the process of disentangling itself, and the kids basically got caught in the crossfire, and a team of snipers was sent down, French special forces, but most of them the snipers. And the film is, from what I've read about the incident and what I've seen in the film, it's surprisingly accurate to what it is. And again, the guys are not burly, action movie heroes. It's not like Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War. It's like Mr. Thompson from Shop Class is the lead on this. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure if you put those guys of that profession in full battle rattle and me in the same kit and said, okay, run 4 times around your neighborhood, because that's like 6 miles, I wouldn't make it to the end of my street. And they'd still be going, just like, okay, when do you want me to stop? So when I say they look like nerdy, nebbishy guys, it's what they look like, not what they are like. It's just not piles of muscles on top of piles of muscles on top of piles of muscles, and a dramatic scar right here, and so on and etc.
Yeah, well, the guys that I've met in the Australian forces, anyway, they're not really standout guys. They're very alpha male. They're very driven sorts of guys, high willpower. But they're not all particularly tall or particularly short or anything like that. They're all a little bit emotionally broken. They've all got some perversion, shagging trainees or something like that. They're all a bit broken and weird. They've all got broken marriages and that, but then they don't stand out. They've all got the grey man skill.
Right on. Okay, so what I was thinking of, and this is relevant to tonight, was the Loyata hostage rescue mission. I'll put the link. That's from the French Foreign Legion website, so I tend to think it's probably pretty accurate. But the film, if you want to see the film, it's called 15 Minutes of War. And I've seen many clips from it, and it looks like a very intense film, because again, it's not the cinematic version of the A-Team. It's heat, it's Sicario, it's a very slow burn experience. Now, it does get kind of actiony when the bullets fly, but that's because in real life it got actiony when the bullets flew. So I do recommend checking out 15 Minutes of War, or at least read up on the Loyata hostage rescue. It's good reading about operators in a situation and how they conducted themselves, and it was not 2 Uzis in one in each hand and a knife in the teeth and a 4-pack law rocket launcher on their back, rushing in to take down all the terrorists at once. Not that there's anything wrong with that for entertainment. I mean, I'm flipping through I say flipping through the channels like anyone does that anymore. I'm looking for something to stream, and I see that Commando is free on Crackle. Hell yeah, I'm going to watch that shit.
Stick around.
I cue you.
Yeah, all right. So a good movie, I've mentioned to you before, Bill, but some of the viewers might not have heard of it, is Mosul. It's on Netflix, and it's made by Iraqis. And it's about the retaking of Mosul. Or specifically, it's about a little SWAT team who went off on their own. Police SWAT team went off on their own. And it's really brutal. And it shows what happens if you run off on your own, because most of them get killed. I don't think that's a spoiler to say that. If you got this little team of half a dozen guys who go off behind enemy lines without any support from their own side, most of them are going to get killed. And it has things like a guy chucks a grenade and it bounces off a wall and comes back at him and stuff.
I can't help but wonder, given that it's made by Iraqis and it's set in Iraq, if the, team of terminal badasses runs off into the night to be G.I. Joes wasn't meant as a slap back to Catherine Bigelow and the Hurt Locker.
No, I don't think so, because they claim that it's based on a true story. There does appear to have been, in the chaos of retaking Mosul over those months, it does seem that there were, it's sort of logical that, especially with, let's face it, a not super well disciplined military, that you would get little teams of guys running off and doing their own thing. You'll get a team of guys who goes off to the bank, Kelly's hero style, and tries to take the gold and the cash. You get another team of guys that wants to go and find their grandma or something like that. You'll have a bunch of guys, another team of guys who are supposed to be assaulting a position, and they just pretend that their radio doesn't work and hide out in a basement somewhere.
There's 3 incidents in real life that have been portrayed in film that that serve to back that up. One is in a couple of them are in Generation Kill, which is just a fantastic war miniseries on HBO. If you haven't seen Generation Kill, and you'd really like to see kind of a good peek inside the mind of the modern American grunt, at least the Marines and all their crayon-eating glory.
All grunts makes every serviceman from every country that I know who's seen it. Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Yeah,
I'm sure you could get Roman legionaries sitting there watching it, and they speak Latin, and they don't speak English, but they could still understand it and go, yep, that's that guy who's yelling at them. He's the Optio, and he'll be yelling at them about their uniform or their shaving or something like that.
Yeah, but there was a commander of the Marine Recon Unit, and they called him Encino Man just because his shaved head was very squarish and he had kind of a jutting brow. And he decided that there was an enemy position in a little group of trees that was like maybe 100 yards away. And he was going to call in an airstrike on it, or an artillery strike, I don't remember. And one of the sergeants in the team, played by Andrew Skarsgård, says, "Sir, that's danger close." And he just stares at him uncomprehendingly. Now, the gentleman in question, the officer in question, said, "Look, I know what danger close in real life, because there was a lot of people who in the Marines who were not happy with what Evan Wright wrote in the book. There were a lot of people in the Marines who were elated and said, yes, that's exactly how it went down. And then there are guys who are like, no, I was there. That's not how it went down at all." So, but, so he prepares to get on the communication net and call in an airstrike. Now, I don't want to go gun porn, but a 500-pound bomb, whether it's got a JDAM kit to be accurate enough to like hit this half of my table, but not that half over there, it has a lethal radius of around 500 yards. It's really, really bad to be 100 yards away from a 500-pound bomb when it lands. I'm sorry, 500 feet. Its lethal radius is 5, but that's still... So, one of the two officers in the unit, when they see him going off, says, "I'm going to step on the radio net." And what he means is he's going to go to his mic and hold down the button on the unit's radio network so nobody else can transmit, including him. And again, Evan Wright and some people who were there assert that was an actual case. And another incident But this pertains to soldiers going off and doing their own things. Is in Black Hawk Down, there's a couple of support machine gunners. One has one of the FN mini-me's, and the other guy's got the full 240 mag. And they literally get cut off and spend a good chunk of the day wandering around abandoned Somalia, downtown Mogadishu, trying to find the rest of the Ranger unit. And these poor guys spent hours. Now, granted, they had a lot of friggin' firepower. They had a lot of firepower. But that means the unit that they were supposed to be with didn't have that firepower. But when the rest of the team pulled back, nobody yelled for them. So these two guys, until late in the evening of the first day of that operation, were they were literally just off on their own until they wandered, just literally by luck, wandered into the one part of the perimeter that wasn't surrounded by Somalis. If you've seen Black Hawk Down, you know the exact scene or the exact sequence of scenes that I'm talking about. But these two guys are like terrified out of their minds. They're like, holy shit. And then the third one is in Generation Kill, when Baghdad is taken. And again, it's 1st Marine Recon. They're just sitting around. 4 guys are like looking at their belaying gear, and they're like, we never got to do this shit. We never got to do recon shit. And they're just like, fuck it, we're going to go do recon shit. And they rappel down the side of some office building in downtown Baghdad, and break windows and ransack an office and kick shit over and piss on some Iraqi government executive's big leather couch and that sort of thing. So it does happen in real life.
Well, yeah, it's an inherently confusing, chaotic situation. Battle, and the side which is most on top of what's going on tends to win. So if you think there was confusion on the American side, imagine what it was like on the Iraqi side.
Yeah.
I mean, their leader went AWOL and then turned up in a hole in the ground like 15 months later or whatever it was.
Yep.
So yeah, everyone is totally confused and chaotic, and whoever's can impose some degree of order. Whoever's got the greatest degree of order tends to win. So it's a comfort to us as gamers to know this, because when we think of our chaotic D&D parties, the confused clusterfuck that is a typical D&D session, it's not that far from reality.
There's a quote that's been attributed to, I've heard it attributed to British generals, Montgomery. I've heard it attributed to German generals, Heinz Guderian, that goes something along the lines of, war is chaos, and that is why the Americans are so successful at it, because they practice chaos within their ranks every day, or something to that effect. But I think that's largely true of all Western democratic armies, you know. Now, I didn't serve, and Kyle, you can shut me down if this is a completely dumb thing for me to say, but it seems like, particularly with Generation X and the brushfire wars that we had to fight, we being the whole generation, again, not including myself, but you know, we grew up with the freedom to just do things. I'm just gonna do a thing today. I'm going to go to McDonald's today. I'm not, you know, I don't have a bread line to wait in. I don't have a government store to go stand in to hopefully get something. I don't have a government job that I have to go do.
It was all sorts of freedoms. Like so last night we had fish and chips for dinner, and I was telling my son, I've told him before, but I was telling my son about how when I was in primary school, we used to leave the school at lunchtime and go down the road to the fish and chip shop and get that for our lunch. And he said to me, you know, with wide eyes, what, you were allowed to leave the school at lunchtime? And I said, honestly, I don't remember if we were allowed or not, but I don't ever remember getting in trouble. So I think it was just probably we were allowed, and then if some kid had got run over or something on one day, it would then have been prohibited. but there was no, I don't think there was any blanket rule against it. We just did it. When I was younger still, it was a rural area, but one day, a kid walked into the classroom with a rifle, it was only a 22 rifle. And the teacher said, "What do you have that for?" And he said, "Oh, Dad said, if I see any rabbits or foxes on the way to school, to bring them back home afterwards." And the teacher said, "Rightio, just unload it and put it over there by my desk, and you can have it back after school." And if that happened nowadays in Australia, they'd be calling in the Police Special Operations Group, and it would be national news, and there'd be, debates back and forth about what to do for ages and that. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's necessarily a good idea to have children with firearms in primary school, but it just shows, yes, we did have a lot more freedom. We could just do things, and it wasn't a big drama.
Yeah,
things are a bit more controlled now.
And, I say that, I say it's a Gen X thing, but I'm also reminded of, I've gone blank. There was a Prussian, he was basically a con man that came to the United States during the Revolution and presented himself as a Prussian general who came because he loved the concept of America fighting the British and fighting to establish their own nation. And it turns out that he would he was like a corporal in his army back home, but he just presented himself, he carried himself, he put all of his build points in leadership. So when he shows up and starts telling, presenting his documents to the Continental Congress, they were like, "Well, shit, we got to get you out in the field training our men ASAP." And it was so frustrating for him to deal with American soldiers because he said, he told Washington, he said, in Prussia, a man is ordered to do something and he does it. And I order these men to do something and they look at me and they say, "Why?"
Well, I think that sort of stuff, he might have been overstating it a bit, because I read Emperor Frederick's book about how to run wars. And one of the things he mentions is when you have a column of men marching along, you have to have other parties going along, flanking them to catch any deserters. So this was just like a standard thing. It was just part of standard operating procedure that, you expect that some guys will desert, and so you have a party of guys to stop them. So he said you have your most loyal men on the flanks, so that the men in the center, when they wander off, So I think this kind of thing about Prussian obedience and cultural differences and that, I think it can be a little bit overstated. I think grunts are all fundamentally the same, whether they've been drafted or they volunteered, whether they're Prussian from the 18th century or American from the 21st century or Russians in the mid-20th century or whatever it is. I think they're all fundamentally the same. It's just people. There are little cultural differences, but it's kind of a difference of how much salt you're adding to the meal. It's still the same meal. It's still the same steak and chips, The amount of salt and how well done the steak is, and that changes, but fundamentally it's still steak and chips. I think a lot of these cultural differences are overstated.
Yeah. It was there's a great series of classic science fiction books by I can't remember if it was Frederick Pohl or it's Pohl Anderson, Annals of the Time Patrol, and they set up it's what it says on the tin. It's time police, and one of the instructors is commenting that their fastest learners were the Roman legionnaires, who they recruited out of time to come and do this. And he said the only problem was getting them to stop treating the time machines like horses. Apparently that, but he said, yeah, they're great learners. That a soldier is a soldier is a soldier. So
yeah. I mean, one of the reasons that firearms became dominant on the battlefield, even when they could only fire like 3 times a minute, is they were very easy to learn. You know, you didn't need years of training and getting stronger to draw the bow, whatever the way you did. If you're strong enough to hold the thing up, then, you know, you could fire it.
Tall enough to reach the trigger, tall enough to be a soldier.
Yeah, you didn't need that much strength, and you know, it wasn't very accurate. But that's, if there's 100 guys firing, somebody will hit something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're designed to be easy to use.
The ultimate point and click interface.
Well, it's like there's a wonderful clip that I sent Bill yesterday, called The Sniper, because it was just from a bigger clip where it's like the types of people you see down at the firing range, and the guy goes down with his rifle and he puts it on the bipod, and you know, he adjusts his scope, and he checks his laptop for the data, and he adjusts his scope again, and then he checks the barometric pressure, and he adjusts his scope again, and then he checks the temperature, and he adjusts his scope again, and he judges the wind, and he adjusts the scope again, and then he takes the shot, and he misses, and it's 25 feet away. You know, so.
Well, see, I thought at the end of the skit, the target was like literally sitting on the table in front of him.
Yeah.
Like a foot from his barrel, or did he pull it back in? I don't know, but it's still, yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, I've been to ranges a few times, but one of the funniest things I've read is like at an outdoor range. Guy was telling me, you know, they're just out there doing their thing, and everybody's like, you know, oh hey, it's you know, you got an M4, yeah, you know, it's a carbine, or, you know, whatever. And they look over, and this black SUV just roars into a parking spot, and two dude bros in tactical battle rattle hop out, and they've got like, you know, they've each got ARs with every attachment. I mean, by his description, these things had everything short of a Polaroid camera that snapped a picture every time you pulled the trigger. And in the space of like 15 minutes, these guys must have burned through a few hundred rounds. And for our non-shooting friends, ammo is expensive and hard to find here in the States these days. So that should give you an idea of how long ago that was. They're just blah, blah, blah.
They're tackleberries.
Huh?
They're tackleberries.
Yeah, tackleberries, exactly. You know, they had that wraparound
yeah.
Oakley sunglasses with a mercury.
I hope everyone has seen Police Academy.
Yes, everyone has seen Police Academy.
The theme of Police Academy comedy show, for those unfortunate people who haven't seen it, comedy movie, is that the police are in desperate need of recruits, so they drop all standards. They no longer have any standards at all. Anyone can sign up. So they just get these ridiculous bunch of clowns who, of course, come good. But and one of the clowns is this guy Tackleberry, who, you know, he rolls up to the police academy in his Jeep, and he steps out, and he's got the sunglasses on. You know, it's, brings his own gun to the firing range, to some cannon. You know,
50.
The instructor is I can't remember what the instructor was called, the sergeant in the show, but he's Rizzo from MASH.
Yep.
And it's like, so he's got the cannon, like a 50 cal pistol or something. So it's like, I might just take that tool later. You just use the regular one.
Yeah, he shoots. He shoots one of the man targets, because you know they're doing the target pops out, like a target pops up and it's a woman holding a baby. A target pops up and it's a guy and he's holding something, but you know, it's a garden hoe. And then another target pops out and it's, you know, it, and he shoots the first proper target as he is supposed to. This Tackleberry, he was intense, but he had good trigger discipline. And he shoots this thing, and it was strictly a Hollywood effect, but literally from like the little bit of stick poking up out of the window up just disintegrates when the bullet hits it. Just boom. And yeah.
So that was what 35 years ago or something.
Yeah.
But the Tackleberry exists still.
Yes, Tackleberry lives on, and these guys were in full
playing Call of Duty,
Tackleberry mode. They they're doing the earplugs and the full coverage silencer headphones, which is not necessarily a bad idea, protecting your hearing. But I mean, they were, they had the Wish.com operator outfits, the tactical vests and everything, and blah 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 blah. And according to him, it was just like we were just waiting for them to stop and give each other congratulatory hand jobs right there on the range. But anyway, that's why I have these. I have dice, so I can embarrass myself at a gaming table instead of out in public in front of everyone else.
It's a smart way to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So
what everyone's been waiting for.
Patient and waiting to see another conflict game unfold. Thank you. I'm gonna pull up my character sheet here, all 18 lines of it, including blank space lines to separate things. And
well, everyone watching is gamers, so they understand that there'll be random bullshit talk before any gaming. You guys understand, don't you? Tell me you understand.
And for those who are interested, let me see if I can get this to work. If I can't, I apologize, but I'm going to show you how non-intensive a conflict character sheet is. Let me see if I can add, let's see, capture.
Discord gives you the screen share things.
Let me see. Yeah, so you can see it right there over my face. Right there. There's just not much to it. Which by the way is a good thing. That's not me knocking the game. That's actually me praising the game. So yeah. That's my character sheet. Right there. Whoops. Don't drag us away. Oh, and I'll turn that off.
Yeah. And that's an unusually long one because he did a lot of terms.
Yeah.
He did 18 years in the army. If he just had one or two terms, then he would have about half as many of those skills.
Yes.
And and strictly speaking, we don't need to mention he's a first lieutenant or he has a BA or 18 years army. We just need to know his abilities. So the expertise are the things he gets +3 in, and the familiarities are things that he gets +1 in.
Mm-hmm.
And you roll 2d6 to achieve things. Good old dice that everyone has.
Steal them from your kids,
and they give a nice normal distribution. And it's easy to calculate odds. It's not hard to calculate odds of 4d6 minus 4 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Does my head in. And the rules themselves are this digest size and 48 pages.
Fits nicely in a cargo pant pocket.
Yeah, even like a beige khaki, it might fit in the pocket.
And I love the layout of the new version, Kyle, with the charts in the middle. That is definitely a good thing. That is a cool thing.
Yeah, well, that's probably something we should have said as our game designer advice when we were talking to Ishiro a couple of weeks ago. One of the things you do is you get when you've decided the format of your game, whether it's going to be like this or like the old player's handbook or whatever, you get a proof copy sent and you have a look. For one thing, you'll notice typos and word repetitions and stuff that you wouldn't when it's just on a computer screen, you'll notice a lot more because it's in a different format. And the other is you'll see how it looks laid out, because some things can look all right on a screen, but they don't necessarily look good in print, and vice versa. Some things look a bit awkward in print on the screen, but work out in print. Like these charts, when I had it on the screen, it looks very cluttered and hard to see, but it actually looks all right here. And one of the things I saw was, well, it naturally falls open in the middle. So why not put the combat charts there? Because in every game that you have, you'll find that the most used charts, the book falls apart in that, the most used section of the book falls apart. See, so here's this poor old player's handbook where where the sections have fallen apart because it got used so much, and it fell apart in the first section because the first section is where all the character generation stuff is. So it probably needs some reinforcement, but you know, it's 30 plus years old, so we should be nice to it. Yeah, so the most used parts are going to be the combat charts, so put them in the middle. So that's the first thing I figured out, and no doubt we'll figure out some more things as time goes on, areas which could be a bit clearer and stuff. But it's a pretty simple and clear system, I think.
So we have an offer. Aaron Smith on Facebook says, I can fix that player's handbook. And that is absolutely true. I've seen Aaron's handiwork at rebinding books. And Kyle, he's taken books that look like they've been put through a shredder and repaired them. So if you're interested, I'll connect you guys, but his work is gorgeous. Aaron's work at restoring role-playing game books is fantastic. Also, Adam commented that says he looks like he was part of the Alan Parsons project. I don't know if that's directed at you or at me. So that was a few minutes ago. I'm not sure which one of us is supposed to look like we were in the Alan Parsons project, but
I'm not at all musical, so.
But you like your synthwave, though. You do like.
I do. You know, it takes me back to the peak of Western civilization.
The 1980s.
It's all been downhill since.
Yes. I've been now. Kyle has got a playlist online, and I promise this might be possibly the last interruption. I don't know, but Kyle has a playlist on YouTube of the soundtrack, as it were, for Conflict. I kind of made a sharp right turn, and I think the soundtrack for Conflict would include tracks like Lawyers, Guns, and Money by Warren Zevon, Smuggler's Blues, Glenn Frey, All She Wants to Do Is Dance, Don Henley, and so on. But you know, I think there's enough room in the musical world that we can agree to disagree.
I like the action movie soundtrack kind of music to set the mood, because I think too the stuff when you're at the game table, and when you're at the game table, if there's music with lyrics, people sing along.
Ah, okay.
Which then detracts from the game, or distracts, not necessarily detracts, but distracts at least from the game.
Fair enough.
Yeah, when it's just the theme music, and then that can distract from the game too, because then they occasionally take turns trying to guess where the music is from. Hey, that's from Fallout 4, isn't it? You get a measure of their geekery, of how much they recognize.
Right.
All right, so game on.
Game on.
So Bill has Lieutenant Walters, and he was 18 years in the Army and did a number of things and got some useful skills, a particular set of skills. But don't worry, his daughter's not being kidnapped. While he was on leave on his way home, he interrupted a robbery. It was a bank robbery in New York, and there were two guys outside and two guys inside, and he and the security guard dealt with the two guys outside, and then they backed off and let the police handle the rest, and the police basically besieged the place and waited until the guys inside were tired, bored, and hungry enough to come out peacefully. So it was all resolved peacefully after that. Once the PCs were no longer involved, it was peaceful.
We did heat outside, and they did dog day afternoon inside.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and then Bill surrendered himself to the police after that because he called up, after taking out those two guys, he called up the police and said, "What do you want me to do?" And they said, "Unload your weapon, put it on safe, put it down, and then approach the police cordon with your hands on your head and report there." And so he got debriefed and talked to. And so the first thing they tell you, Bill, is that they're keeping this out of the news. They're just saying, a citizen. No, not the whole bank robbery. Like your particular involvement.
Okay, sure.
Your particular involvement, okay? So you see pretty quickly appears on YouTube. There was an apparently homeless guy who was sitting there watching the whole thing. Right? So some video does appear on YouTube later, but it's pretty blurry, and like someone who knows you would see that video and go, "Yep, that's Lieutenant Walters." But someone who doesn't know you wouldn't see that video and then see you in the street and go, "Oh yeah, that's him." Gotcha. Because there's a lot of movement back and forth, and a lot of the time you had your back to the camera and all the rest. So yeah, there's no good pictures of you being involved.
And that's fine.
So they're going to keep your part out of that because they think these robbers are actually connected to a wider group. They were doing a bank robbery to raise funds for a terrorist group.
Okay.
This is a terrorist group which is operating in a foreign country as well as part of the insurgency in Frankistan. Terrorist group called the Squad of Righteous Fury. A couple of them are American sympathizers for them, and then a couple of others were Frankistanis. So yeah, they were doing it to raise money for a terrorist group.
I will opine to whoever is debriefing me that I am not doubting their intel at all, but they seemed kind of disorganized for basically a farm team for a terrorist group. They didn't have comms. You guys cordoned off the area lickety split, so they obviously didn't plan out egress very well. Make of that what you will. I'm just sharing decades of military experience that.
So this fella comes along and talks to you, and he's in beige khakis and a polo shirt.
Aha.
And he has nerd glasses on. And he says, yes, the competent SRF guys are back home in Frankistan fighting the international force. Mm-hmm. We get the incompetent ones who come over here. So we have the Frankistani refugees, some of whom become unemployed and disgruntled and grow up here, and they have no training. They have no training except a few video clips online of jihadis beheading people and that sort of thing. They have no training. They just come up with their own ideas of how to do things. So two of them were Frankistani refugees, or the children of refugees, and two of them were American sympathizers who are against America's war on terror and so on, global war on terror.
Must have been the two clowns I bagged outside then.
Yes. Those two the two local white guys, they were outside, yeah.
All right.
And the Frankistanis were inside. So, so the competent ones stay home and fight the foreigners. The others, so these are just kids of refugees and that. So you're quite right. They're not very well organized. This was also their first job. So all criminal organizations tend to go through an evolutionary process. where they start off as disorganized crime, and then most of them get caught and go to prison and stay there or go in and out over the years. But the more competent ones don't get caught, and they go on to form the organized crime gangs. It's an evolutionary process, he explains. So,
right.
Yeah. He says, now, speaking of evolutionary processes, we are evolving our response to these guys. And the war in Frankenstein is also evolving its response.
Mm-hmm.
So now that war has become a bit more complicated because the UN is involved. So we can't go out and do the same aggressive operations that we used to, because officially the place has been taken over by a UN peacekeeping force. And they're just a bunch of international advisors and the various NATO countries, plus Australia and others that were involved in fighting the war. They are now instead just a security force. They're security forces for the embassies and that sort of thing. So that's limited on how open we can be. Nonetheless, we still need to do these operations. Even if politics doesn't allow us to do them openly, we still need to do these operations. So he says, we are looking for a few good men who perhaps have served recently. He says it in a much longer and more roundabout way, but I'm not as articulate as a company man.
I got you.
So, yeah, we're looking for a few good men to form a force which would essentially be a commando force in there, and we'd take out some high-value targets because there's a bit of good work to be done.
I have a sneaking suspicion I already know the answer to this. Mr. Smith, I think it was.
Donovan.
And out of character, I know he didn't give me his name. I just a little sarcasm. Mr. Smith, I think it was.
He says his name is Jeffrey Donovan.
Mr. Donovan. But why don't you have some overeager Doritos eating kid in a dark office somewhere down in Foggy Bottom just pop him with a Hellfire missile from the air-conditioned safety of a data center.
Yes, but it's really hard to talk to them after you've dropped a 500-pound bomb on them.
Granted.
And we've also found we also found, as I said, an evolutionary process. This is what the Israelis have found. When you take out the leaders, you allow younger, more aggressive, and more competent leaders to take their place. If you want a long-term peace, you actually have to leave those leaders alone. Let them become middle-aged and who just want peace and quiet, and then they give up the fight. When you take out the 50-year-olds and replace them with the 25-year-old, the war keeps happening. As well, the 50-year-olds think that they're really competent, but maybe they were once, but not so much now. The 25-year-olds only rise up in position if they're competent and extremely ruthless. So you tend to perpetuate the conflict. So our thinking is more capturing and less killing where possible. Now, there are some guys who undoubtedly need a bullet, and we will give it to them. But there are some guys who we can grab and talk to and get more information, and that way take out a whole network rather than just taking the spider in the middle of the web and another spider comes and takes over the web. Take out the whole web. And a 500-pound bomb can't do that. Sorry?
Or you could set the whole bush on fire and solve the entire damn problem in a single afternoon. But
we could, but the president has ruled out genocide as a solution to the problem.
Well, what do I know? I'm just a guy who, just 18-year grunt veteran who's still got sand in his shoes that came off a road in Iraq, but so this team of all-star plausibly deniable contractors, have you asked anybody other than just me, or am I just kind of the first on your shopping list today?
Yes, we have. Well, we had our eye on you, and today has confirmed it. And you may find yourself a target of these guys anyway. If anyone does look at these YouTube videos and that online, you may find yourself a target of the squad of righteous fury, which sounds much more intimidating in the original Frankistani, but...
Out of character, it reminds me of that bit in what was it, True Lies? He calls himself the Sand Scorpion. Why? I think because it sounds scary, sir.
So even if you don't choose to go with us, we recommend that you exercise some caution and you get yourself some personal protection of various kinds. Go to a state where you're allowed to conceal carry, because you may find these guys are interested in you. They tend to be a vengeful bunch, and the ones over here aren't very smart, so they might think that, like, taking out they might have watched too many of our movies and think that taking out a cop or whoever has brought them down is actually going to make things better for them. And of course, if you do take it the cop who's after you, that never makes things better for you.
No, certainly not.
But yeah, the ones here probably aren't smart enough to think of that, so that's a consideration you might have as well. And that being overseas for a while might actually be good in that regard.
Well, I'd hate to give them the opportunity to bolster their confidence. I don't have a whole lot to do, although I did need to clean the gutters this weekend. You have a business card? I can give you a call.
Certainly, he says, and he gives you a business card, and he looks through his wallet and he pulls out Jeffrey Donovan gutter cleaner, and he hands you that card. I was just imagining, remember the Rockford Files? He used to always do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just had different cards to get him in anywhere.
Yeah.
He was an art dealer and he was a plumber and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, Donovan gives you Jeffrey Donovan gutter cleaner.
All right. Well, I'll go tidy up a few things and cancel my Netflix subscription and give you a call this afternoon.
Very well, he says.
All right. So I will. Now I'm assuming that when I got pranked.
You're still in New York.
I'm sorry. What?
You're still in New York, and you've been talking in a police interrogation room. You won't be interrogated, but you know that obviously, you know, we skated over it. But obviously, the police will have taken a statement and blah blah blah.
Sure. I probably have to longhand write out what happened at least 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'll get my standard issue foam cup of motor oil strength coffee and go back to wherever it is that I called home at the particular time. And
yeah, you've just been staying in a hotel.
Yeah.
On your way back home.
Well, I'll call a few.
You sit in your hotel room and you flick through the channels and contemplate life.
I'll make a few calls. Tell some friends and family members that I'm taking an extended work contract that should position me a little bit better financially than my military pension will leave me off, and not to worry, but I'll be I might be traveling overseas. I might not. Just
Okay.
just take care of affairs.
All right. So while you're calling them up, you get an email. It's an email from your old battalion headquarters,
Really?
or probably from the Department of Veterans Affairs, one of those. Anyway, they're telling you that your application for a total and permanent disability pension has been successful. So you now be getting $3,300 a month as your pension.
Not bad.
And the records have been altered to show that you were injured during your service. There's no wounded in action, there's no extra Purple Heart or anything like that, but there's injured during service, and so you're totally and permanently disabled. So you have a $3,300 a month pension.
All right.
The rest of your life. It occurs to you that this may be how they're going to pay you.
Well, that's...
Or at least as a base rate.
Yeah, I was going to say 36,312. Yeah. So a little over $43,000 a year to possibly get Black Hawk downed does not seem like exactly a ton of money. But I'll be circumspect about it, considering travel expenses and so on will be covered. All the polo shirts, chinos, and sneakers.
You don't know the exact pay arrangements yet. You'll have to talk to him, but you suspect that's probably your base, your backup, and to give you a cover to explain what you're doing and where you're working and all the rest. So there's no awkward questions about where your money came from.
Right. So what time of day? What time of day is it?
Well, okay. So you dealt with the robbers in the morning, and then you spent most of the day talking to the police and a little bit of time talking to Donovan. So this will be the evening.
All right. I'll ask the concierge if there's like a T-Mobile store within walking distance.
Yeah.
All right.
And there's payphones and that as well.
Sure. I'm going to hit a couple of different cell phone stores and pick up like $35 pay-as-you-go phones, but on different carriers that do take SIM cards, though, that I can use in a different country on a different carrier, and I will pay cash for them. I'll hit an ATM on my way, and I'll pay cash for them, and I'll buy enough charge-up cards to put lots and lots of time on them. And I will call Donovan from one of them. And, I'll tell him, listen, the Sheraton makes a hell of a breakfast. I'm not missing that. But after around 8:30, what time and where?
Okay, so it's, we'll send a taxi for you. So be there at 0900. I don't like getting up early, so.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I'll make sure the night latch is on the door. I will shut off my mobile phone. Not shut it off like call and cancel the service, but power it off. And make sure that nothing in the way of geolocation is switched on. Not that cheapy flip phones tend to have that sort of thing, but one never knows. Make sure they're as dumb as can be. And unless you're going to roll for wandering monster encounters over the course of the night, which would be 6d6, I think. I will I will take it.
The only wandering monsters you're going to get in this hotel are a drunken businessman coming home with hookers at midnight.
Fair enough. And you can go to the Harlot subtable in the Dungeon Master's Guide if you feel necessary.
It all comes back to D&D.
It all comes back to D&D. So I will make sure that my bandaged up arm, because I did get shot over there, that my bandaged up arm is in good condition. Grab a shower, watch. I don't know. See if I can find a Magnum PI on one of the streaming services to watch.
Reruns of Johnny Carson.
I'm sorry, the what?
Reruns of Johnny Carson.
Yeah, reruns of Johnny Carson. Get up the next morning, have breakfast, and close out my affairs at the hotel and go catch this guy.
All right, so you're out there at 5 minutes to. Ex-military, you're always going to be 5 minutes early to everything, if not 15. So yeah, they're 5 minutes to, and they're promptly 9. Taxi rolls up with Donovan in the back, and he's like, "Hey," and waves you in. Reaches over, opens the door for you, and waves you in.
Hey, yourself. I'm telling you, you should have come up here and had breakfast with me. Their eggs Benedict, fantastic. I figured I'd treat myself. It's probably the last time I'm going to get eggs Benedict for a while.
Oh, no, he says, "Don't worry, there's eggs Benedict where we're going. Don't worry about
that." I'm going to say that sounds a little ominous, Mr. Donovan, but where are we going anyway?
We're going to Frankistan. You're going to be a contractor there. Purely civilian, purely advisory, of course, he says.
Of course.
But yeah, you'll be a contractor there. He said, we arranged the base payment.
I saw
Taxi
that.
Driver's going. Yeah. We arranged the base payment. So basically, he says, "Don't worry about the driver. He's one of ours." He says, basically that's just your base pay. That gets you started. There'll be cash grants from time to time. And of course, you're going to be in theatre a lot of the time, so all your accommodation and food and all the rest will be dealt with, same as it was in the Green Machine. He says that'll all be dealt with. But the base pay, that gives you a plausible reason for having money.
It's nice. It's nice to have a stipend. Yes.
Yeah. That keeps you going. So that's your guarantee. Whatever else happens, you've always got that. And he says, "Oh, yeah, we'll give you the proper briefing later." And then, so for the remainder of the journey, he just engages in chit-chat about, so do you root for the Knicks or what? And, it's all that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
It's just idle chit-chat. All right, so you go a little way out, and then it comes and stops at an office building. And it's one of those office buildings that's got like 10 different companies in it. And they pull up there and go inside and go into one of the buildings. And yeah, then that's where you go in and go past secretary and a bunch of other people tapping away at computers and so on. He waves an ID card and they just wave him through. They obviously recognize him. And they give you a visitor pass. And this apparently is the Department of Agriculture. So, and go in and sit you down and go in a room. And in this room, there's 5 other, they're obviously operators. Mm. Right? They're just wearing regular civilian clothing. But you see these guys, there's a couple of guys with the high-end tights. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of women there, but they're not, they're wearing like business suits, collars and that. These women, business skirts and that, but they fill out the suit a little bit too much.
Right.
They look like the women that you've seen go through infantry. Mm-hmm. It's a very small number, but yeah, they look like those women as well, and they've got that kind of that more upright posture. You know, there's a few things I've been told. So one person, when she started at the gym, you know, her dad was ex-military, and she said she spotted me as ex-military in the first 10 minutes because she said like you were wearing a belt. What? Yeah, instead of just having the pants hang down around your ass, you were wearing a belt, and you had your shirt tucked in. And she said, but the real tell was when I was calling instructions to people in the gym, telling them, you know, just up, bigger, and all the rest of it. Said that voice projection that she could have heard in the next block was the tell. And everything just being laid out and organised, apparently, was it? No. Okay. Anyway, so you spot all these guys. They're all obviously ex-military. Of some, you couldn't say what branch or whatever, but yeah, they're obviously ex-military.
Sure. And
he brings you in and he waves you to a seat. And then they started a little PowerPoint presentation and a talk. And they outlined the situation in Frankistan. So Frankistan is the former Soviet Republic, which is why it's so contested and why everyone's so emotional about it. Because it's the fighting going on in a former Soviet Republic and international forces are involved. So the Americans had gone in to crush it because there were insurgents coming across the Afghan border from Frankistan, and the Americans had gone in to crush it. It had sort of crept out the way the Vietnam War crept into Laos and Cambodia. It had spread into Frankistan, and so there's about 20 different warring groups.
Do we know if our friends from Dzerzhinsky Square, if they've got any fingers in it?
The Chechens. Of course there's Chechens. There's Chechens everywhere. Oh, you mean the Russians?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, they say. So he says, in fact, just last week, an Australian team busted some guys who were sending surface-to-air missiles. Shoulder-launched surface-to-air missiles. The Russians were apparently hoping to repay the gift that America had given them in Afghanistan in the 80s and get the guys shoulder-launched missiles.
Right.
This would have really changed the conflict because at the moment, most of the Frankistani rebels have just got man-portable weapons. You know, they've just got rifles and there's the occasional anti-aircraft gun and that, but they don't really do much against modern aircraft flying high and the rest. But there's a like the UN peacekeeping force needs 50,000 troops and it has 13,000. So mostly they just guard the capital and a few regional cities. And then there's an international security force, which is basically all the different countries guarding their embassies and so on. And just on the quiet, they're advising the UN force and occasionally doing little offensive missions, but they have to be fairly quiet about it because officially it's a peacekeeping mission.
Right.
The country is run by a dictator called a democratically elected man.
Aren't they all?
Called Frank. Yes. He's Frankistani heritage. However, he grew up in the United States and went to university there. So he's, and that has helped him relate to the people. It's a democratic election. They have a very free and open democracy. When you go and vote, there's a box for voting for Frank, and there's a box for voting for the other guys. And at the end, whichever box weighs much is the winner. And you go and, you put that in front of the officials. When it was questioned why there wasn't a secret ballot, when a journalist asked him that question, he explained that because it is a free democracy, they don't need a secret ballot. You have a secret ballot because somebody might interfere with your vote, but nobody is going to interfere with your vote in Frankistan. So,
Bears thought.
Yeah, so you don't need a secret ballot. It's all right to tell everyone who you vote for. And he said in the United States, for example, it's not like it's secret who people vote for. Everyone quite openly says that they're a Republican or Democrat or whatever, or undecided. So, he said What do you need a secret ballot for? A secret ballot is a sign of a democracy in crisis, he said. And the journalist, being a journalist from The Guardian, was unable to argue with that excellent reasoning and just left it there.
I'm surprised a journalist from The Guardian questioned it to begin with. That's both in character and not, by the way, kids.
Yeah. Anyway, so, but it's about as much democracy as you can expect in an ongoing civil conflict. Frankistan is basically a hollow state, meaning the government controls the capital and a few regional cities and is nominally in control of the rest of the country, and it chooses the ambassadors for international forums and so on. But most of the country is overrun by all these different warring groups. The major one that they're worried about at the moment is the Squad of Righteous Fury, because these guys, they've got a secular ideology. Most of the country is Islamic, but these guys have got a secular ideology, and they're supported by the Russians. Beautiful. The Russians had recently smuggled in some shoulder-launched surface-to-air missiles, which, if they'd been distributed to the insurgents, would have changed the war, because, as I said, there's not enough troops. Therefore, they've got to put them around the country in choppers to put out brush fires, so to speak. So if those choppers were being shot down, then the international force would either have to amp up its number of troops to do more groundwork or withdraw. And the UN certainly doesn't want to escalate the conflict, and the US doesn't want people to, and the West doesn't want people to withdraw. So it was very good that the Australian team went in and they took that out, at least one of the guys. And they've got this Russian guy, Believ, in there, who was the go-between, and they're interrogating him. So that's where the war stands at the moment. But as I said, there are many warring groups. The SRF is the one that they're most worried about, because they're operating in the capital. And in many places, they formed a shadow government. They've got a shadow mayor and a shadow military commander and so on. And they're pretty well organized. So, for example, in their comms, they don't just get on the radio and talk to people so that their comms can be intercepted, but they have messengers who memorize a string of letters and numbers, which are then decoded with a one-time pad. So even if you capture the messengers and you get them to tell you their message, you still can't decode it. So they're pretty well-organized group. They're not great in number at the moment, but they're well-organized. So that's the main one that the international forces and the Americans are worried about at the moment. So the idea is that using the intelligence gained, that this team of 6, with backup, of course, this team of 6 will go there and they will kill or capture various important people in the organization, the SRF. Occasionally perhaps put in moles and so on, and just undermine them. Because when it's all these disparate groups, none of them are a threat, and it's a bit easier for the government to negotiate with them and maybe bring them into the fold so that you can have a unified government. And if you have a unified government and order, you can eventually transition the country to a genuine democracy and some prosperity. And it would be really good to be able to do this in Frankistan, being a former Soviet republic, to show the Russians and the Belarusians and the Ukrainians and all the rest, there is another way, guys. There is another way rather than just hanging with Putin. And you can actually be better off. And this, of course, is why the Russians don't want it to work.
Well, we all know when the bullets start flying, the politics go out the door. So how factionalized is this
SRF?
The SRF, how factionalized are they?
At the moment, not at all. At the moment, not at all. As we said, it's a relatively new and well-organized group. and they seem to be united in their secularism, for example. They're united. Because the whole Islamic thing really is just a replacement for communism as an ideology in motivating the people in the lower classes and all the rest. It's not, nobody was genuinely communist, not many people are genuinely Islamic. It's just, it just motivated them. It was just, poor people rise up and take what's yours and that sort of thing. So, but these guys are fiercely secular. So that's kind of a weakness of theirs, that there's no unifying ideology, because the secular ideology is more vague of, Rousseau's rationalism or whatever, So it's a bit harder to motivate semi-literate peasants about that. But you can motivate them with foreigners out and no, we don't want public beheadings and that sort of thing.
Right.
So it's motivated. They're motivated by what they're against rather than what they're for at the moment. So that they seem to be pretty united right now, which again is why they're a threat.
And we're not in the uncomfortable position of needing to play the enemy of my enemy is my friend game and cuddle up to any unsavory types who are on the other side.
We have to cuddle up to the Frankistani government.
I realize that, but any other factions in the country?
Oh yeah, there's like I said, there's at least 19 other factions.
Lovely.
Most of them are Islamic or tribal. They're just, these are the guys from this valley kind of thing. So and most of them aren't terribly ideological. So there's several Islamic ones, but most of them aren't terribly ideological. It's more tribal. It's more, these are the guys from my valley, and I've made myself president of the Republic of East Orlando or whatever. It's that kind of thing.
Well, I did a little reading. I mean, these guys have been fighting over the same fucking 1,000 years now. I mean, when you start talking about the tribal areas, anyway. The only reason they stopped for about 65 years was because this Stalin parked T-34s in the middle of every town and said, you're all going to get along or else. Which I'm assuming is not an option here.
Well, no, they won't give us the troops. We're trying to de-escalate the war on terror. So we've got a relatively short time frame where we've got the political support to do much at all.
How short?
And this is why we're going to more. This is why we're having to be more creative. They won't give us the troops. Plus, if we put a lot of troops, it's a former Soviet republic. So if we put a lot of troops, that really risks escalating things with the Russians.
Sure.
So
Putin starts to get itchy.
That plus, after 20 years, the public is a bit tired of this global war on terror, but we want to keep it going anyway. So that's why we're choosing this sort of method, where we have private contractors and advisors going in. And we're trying to do things in the last year or so where we have the political support to be able to do so.
Right on. All right. Give me hard copy persists on where I'm going to be going and who I'm going to be talking to, and I'll go over it all on...
we can give you a more detailed briefing once we're over in Frankistan.
Right.
But
if you can give me stuff to absorb and digest on the flight over, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, sure, we can do that. And yeah, he just sort of goes around the room and says, okay, these are the terms. So, you've all been given these government pensions. They're your basic thing. In addition, there'll be at least another 50,000 a year, which will be handed over in cash for day-to-day expenses. But of course, there'll be food and accommodation and all that sort of, and of course, medical care. That will all be dealt with. You're likely to be in harm's way, and if you are captured or otherwise, no, we're not going to deny that you are even an American citizen. That's stuff from the movies. Of course, we're going to look out for you, but we're not going to say yes, you were bearing arms under our name. We just, you were a civilian contractor and you got captured by the enemy. Blah blah blah. We're not going to go into all that detail, but we will make our best efforts to rescue you. We're not going to leave you out to dry. Yeah, anyone who's done that has watched too many Rambo movies. We do not leave our guys behind. But it would be a return to the conflict in that. So there's one of the other 5 guys in the room says, been there, done that, didn't like the t-shirt, and he gets up and he walks out. He's not into that, and the others kind of.
I watch him go, and when the door shuts, I'm going to look back at this guy and say, "So you going to throw him off the blimp, or is his car going to blow up, or what?"
No, he said. He said security will stop him, and then we'll get him to make sure he signs that he understands Official Secrets Act, blah blah blah. That's all. No, he's not going to be thrown off the blimp.
Damn. No, they don't. You guys just don't throw enough people off blimps anymore. I think that's half your problem, pal.
He said, yeah, that's more of a South American thing to throw people out of helicopters and that.
Yeah.
We try not to do that kind of stuff.
Try.
Yeah, sometimes accidents happen.
You don't say you succeed, but you try, and I guess... Yeah.
All right. So they fly you over to Frankistan.
All right.
On a commercial flight, but all booked, all the seats together.
Now, player to game master question.
Yes.
The data and info that they gave me, and I mean, I'll make a die roll if necessary. Did it seem to gel? Did it seem to? Adam on Facebook says Pinochet frowns upon your policy. But did it seem? I don't know. Did everything seem to mesh? Was I looking at that thinking, wait a minute, something's not adding up here?
So what they give you is all open source stuff, okay?
Okay.
If you look at the internet, you can find all the facts. It's just, all they've done is taken all the publicly available facts and put them together to paint a picture.
All right.
And the picture they paint is the same as what you've been told, which is that in the last couple of years, this new group, Squad of Righteous Fury, has risen up, and it's well organized, it's secular, it's supported by the Russians. That might be why it's well organized and it's secular.
Okay.
Occasional guys who were not born in Frankistan show up in the group, but you're not sure who's in charge and all the rest. So, yeah, it gels with what they've told you so far, and it seems to make sense overall.
Okay, that's cool. I just part of the way through the flight, like after I'm looking at like printed out Wikipedia pages and printed out CIA fact book pages and stuff.
Oh, it's not that they've got that as references, but you've got a confidential intelligence report, but it's from open source materials.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, at any rate, I just look at one of the people I'm on the plane with and just say, did they really name the capital city of this place Das Kapital?
Did. There is an original name, but you're not allowed to use that. Dr. Sir Field Marshal President for Life, Frank, will not allow you to use the former name. It's called Das Kapital.
Das Kapital. All right. Well, once I've read this through a few times, guessing a trip from New York to Asia Minor is going to give me enough time to read for a few hours, sleep for a full 8 hours, get up, eat, and read for a few hours before we land.
That's right.
I will do that.
Okay. All right. Now. Where are we? Okay, so you've got some other people on your team who you can talk to. You can talk to on the flight. Now let's screen share. Okay, so you've got Alan Simawata.
Okay.
Should be coming up in a moment. Here we go. That's her.
All right.
She's not doing that on the flight, but
I
that's just a
hope
picture
not.
of it.
It tends to make the stewardesses edgy when you do that.
Yeah. So, yeah, you've got her.
Her twin sister.
Let's see. And where are we? Let's go through them. This bloke, Daniel McPherson.
All right.
He's actually a stocky UK bloke. British fella.
All right.
Strong. So those are the two you're sitting next to. You're in economy class. You're sitting in the middle of these two.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, Ellen's her background is she's just U.S. Army infantry, and she was a sergeant, and she says she's a good shot, and she has Persian background. And her family left Iran after the revolution. And so she speaks Farsi and Arabic.
All right.
And Farsi is apparently linguistically close Frankistani. It's not exactly the same, but it's linguistically close.
Now, let me see.
And then you've got Daniel McPherson, and he explains that he was in the SAS. He has an American father, though. And so he went over and lived in America for a while and joined the Green Berets there. So he's a commando, effectively a commando in two different forces. Commando type. There's that guy as well.
I introduce myself, talk about my hitches.
They tell you about theirs. It's not all super secret or whatever. They're just talking about themselves.
Yeah.
All right. So you arrive in Das Kapital. Fly in over the airport. As you fly in over the city, you see in one corner of the city, the east of the city, you see little flashes of fire. There's some big ass firefight going on, and there's this little you see a little explosion, and all the smoke comes up. It was either about a 200-pound bomb or it was a car bomb. You can't tell. But anyway, there's a little explosion and all this dust and everything, and smoke kicks up.
I'll just say Riley to my nearby companions, "Hey guys, look, celebratory fireworks. They know we're coming."
And all right, so you come in and you land, and then you step off the plane, and there's no real security. There's customs, and you notice that some of the others coming through, they get harassed by customs and have to pass on some cash. But Donovan comes through, and the customs guy kind of stands up a little bit straighter when Donovan comes through, and he just waves you through.
Okay.
So obviously most of the civilians and they have to pay bribes to get through, but not the ones associated with Donovan. So he escorts you guys through. And then, come along, and there's a bunch of Marines. There's a couple of Hummers, and there's a truck. Hummer at the front, Hummer at the back. And they tell you guys to get on the truck.
Oh, I'm starting to get bad Route Irish vibes already from this.
And Donovan says, don't worry. We're in the green zone.
I look
Marines
over
on
at
the back of the
Donovan.
truck with behind his 30 cal, looking around. All right, so you drive through the streets of the city, and they're dirty streets. There's open sewers running through parts of the street. There's dust everywhere. There's rubbish all on the ground. There's little kids who scatter when the vehicles come. The occasional rock gets thrown at the truck. Dink. Goes bouncing off. You drive through lots of low buildings, half constructed, rebar sticking out of the concrete. Donovan explains to you, you'll see a lot of that because there's actually pretty ruinous land taxes. But if your building is under construction, you don't have to pay land tax. So everyone's building is constantly under construction.
Just a quick, it's funny you should mention that because, out of character, my wife and I, we took our honeymoon in Barbados, and that's exactly the same thing at the time back in 1999 that was going on in Barbados. You'd see these beautiful, sprawling country houses in the middle of the island and everything like that, but every one of them looked like they were one Lowe's visit short of being done. And it's because a house under construction doesn't get hit with this ruinous property tax. So everybody would just have a pile of masonry and some rebar sticking up all around the house. So that's a real thing, folks. That's verisimilitude.
It's the real thing. Well, it was actually the same. We had a honeymoon in Peru in 2009, and it was the same there. We asked, and it was like, what? And yep, that's why.
There you go.
That's why everything was under construction. It's like, is there an economic boom going on, and everyone's putting on an extra floor on their house and stuff? No, that was it.
Nope.
So constantly,
not so much an economic boom as staving off an economic collapse.
Yep, fair comment. Yeah, there is a local currency, but nobody wants it. Everyone wants US dollars. And occasionally euros.
Right.
But everyone suspects that the euros are just a Russian plot. So
yeah. I was going to say, everybody bitches about the United States in real life and in game. Everybody bitches about the United States, but I promise you, you take a $20 bill out of your pocket, and you can get shit done. You can get yourself into or out of a sticky situation.
Okay, so you're going through, and now you no longer see people on the streets as you're going through. After you've gone through a couple of kilometers, you no longer see people on the streets. There's still houses.
Shit.
But all the windows have been shuttered up.
Shit. All right. Send lawyers, guns, and money, guys.
All right. So you're going through the streets, and the one of the Hummers ahead slows down, and you hear some Marine voices calling some things out. You can't see anything. You're just in the back of the truck. You can see out the back of the truck, but yeah, it's covered over. There's a tarp covered over. You can lift up a corner or something like that if you want, but yeah, there's a tarp covering over the truck, and so you can just see out the back.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
You see the Hummer behind you, and you know that stops, and the gunner just swings around to look behind him. You don't see anything behind you at this stage.
This is not good. Do we have access to firearms at this point?
No, you don't. you were going to the base where you were going to be issued with things and get your initial briefing after arrest and all the rest. Okay, while you're waiting there, you see behind the Hummer comes across this truck, and it looks like it's a UN truck. It's painted white. It says United Nations, and it's got piles of cargo, and it pulls across the road behind the Hummer, and a couple of guys pop up who are not UN, not UN troops. They're some local militia. And one has a rocket-propelled grenade on his shoulder.
Oh, that's, yeah.
And another one has an AK. So this is time to roll for surprise and initiative. Oh, we'll roll for surprise first.
9.
9. All right. That's with just 1d6?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's 1d6 plus your readiness, plus your tactical observation.
All right. What in the hell? I apparently don't have enough, so... You had my character sheet in front of you. This is wrong. Apparently I have the wrong stuff here. So I rolled a 5. My readiness is a 2, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so 7 total. All right, so I do have the right stuff there.
Yeah, you've got readiness 2, and you've got observation persons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why you got that feeling. Uh-oh.
That's a person over there.
Well, no, observation persons means... So the example I've got in the rules is that bit in Jason Bourne when he says, I can tell you the license plate of the vehicles outside, and I can tell you that guy's 200 pounds and knows how to handle himself and that sort of thing. So you sort of, that's how you're able to, I mean, anyone who's served in the military can tell an ex-military person pretty well, but someone with observation persons, it's like the thing of Sherlock Holmes here, by the crease of his shirt, I can tell he's an accountant and that sort of thing.
Right.
There's more of that sort of stuff going on. Which will also mean you can tell if a person is about to be hostile or something.
Well, the RPG pointed in our general direction is giving me that, so a total of 7.
Well, that too, but also the absence of people made you think that. You weren't in charge of the convoy. All right. So, so you got 7, and they got 6, but you're a group of Marines, and that, so you got it. So the Marines react first. Do you want to throw for the Marines at the back?
Yes.
So he sees the guy pointing an RPG at him. He just opens up his 30 with his 30 cal.
Well, it would be a 50, but yeah.
50, yeah.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to gun porn you. I apologize. 7. I'm sorry, 8. 8.
8. Yeah, he will have the skill, so he'll have +1.
All right.
And
punches that butterfly trigger like it's going.
He's just laying down suppressive fire. Boop, 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 boop. A whole lot of auto fire. Okay. So he will hit one of the guys. Roll 1d6 for what he does to him.
Too much crap on the table getting cock dice tonight. 1. And
1. All right, so his burst from his machine gun. Yeah, here's the guy in the head, and the guy drops. That guy drops. That was the guy with the AK, not the guy with the RPG, though.
Shoot.
He has a second round of fire, so he won initiative by 2, so it means 2 free actions.
8 again.
Yeah.
5 and 2.
Yeah, you only need to. So on this one, so on the wounding matrix, okay. So there's this detailed one. That's for all named characters.
Okay.
Nameless goons get this one, the wounding matrix. Okay, because if you've got like 30 guys fighting, and there's 30 grunts, and then Lieutenant Walters and the guy in charge of those guys. We don't care about like did he get shot in the hand or the left eye or whatever. We don't care. Just is he fighting? Is he dead or what? What's going on? Right. We just care about that. The detailed the hit locations are just for named characters.
All right. So
your men at arms and that you're not worried about.
All right. So I got a 3 then.
3. Okay, so that's a wound. Let's see if he stays up. Okay, so the RPG guy goes down. Okay. And now in the next combat round, you'll get to see if there's any more guys on that truck. Up the front, you hear ducka ducka duck, ducka ducka duck. Well, that was pretty good. All right, so you hear firing, machine gun firing from up the front as well.
All right, so bringing a little daka to the front of the convoy. A 7.
I'd roll.
Oh,
for
you
them.
roll. Okay, I'm sorry.
You're just rolling for what you see, the guys you see. If you get out, you can roll for them too.
Okay.
If you get out or if you poke your head out of the top. Okay. That's the surprise round done. The insurgents weren't quick enough, so it meant that you guys reacted first. Now to be initiative for regular combat. Okay, but we all decide what we're going to do. All right, so number one, what's Walter's going to do? What are you going to do?
Lacking a weapon and not wanting to get in the way of the people with them, Walters is going to position himself in a horizontal lateral mode right now. That is, he is going to hit the deck of the truck and keep his head down.
Yep, fair enough. Everyone else on the truck's doing the same thing, including Donovan. All right, and then so the Marines will just continue firing.
And just to let you folks know, those of you who've been with us for this evening's live stream, we'll be over on Jay Ashiro's live stream in just a little while this evening. So just a heads up, just a little bit of station information. Okay, so back to the action.
All right. So initiative. So you roll, you add your readiness. Be +2 for everyone here.
10, so 12. Or is it a D6?
No, 1D6 for initiative.
So 7.
7. Okay.
You've got me addicted to the 2D6-ness of it. I just want to throw 2D6 all the time.
Yeah. I tried to do initiative and surprise with 2D6, but it's just too much variation.
Too granular. I gotcha.
Yeah, it's too granular, and it didn't have the effect. I want readiness to make a big difference. For example, readiness and other things to make a big difference, and they didn't make that big a difference when it was 2D6, so 1D6 worked better. Okay, so you guys go first again.
All right.
So indeed, another couple of guys are popping up on the truck at the back.
Well, then they're going to find out that while God made men equal, John Moses Browning is going to make them all more equal. So, an 8 again.
Yep.
And a 5 on that one.
Yep. So one guy will get a minor wound.
And a 6. Does a 6 hit for the second burst?
The 6 won't hit.
6 won't.
6 won't hit.
Okay.
Yeah. But the main thing at the moment is he's firing auto, so there's suppressive fire going on. So that reduces their readiness.
Okay.
It reduces the readiness of those insurgents. They're able to do less.
Clearly, I've never been there and done that in real life, but I would imagine that sustained fire from a 50 caliber machine gun would give one pause.
Any sustained fire.
Any sustained fire. It is a significant emotional event, as
Nick
Moran says.
Well, as in one game of play, it was they were just like throwing beer bottles and stuff at the person. But basically, yeah, if people are throwing a lot of stuff at you, whether it be beer bottles or bullet rounds at 840 meters per second, yeah, you tend to drop down a bit. It tends to inhibit you a bit.
Yes.
So I'm told, anyway. Okay, so they are held back, so only one of them will have an action, and the RPG is not in sight. But you think there'll probably be somebody picking it up. If there's somebody still in the truck, there'll probably be somebody picking it up to fire. Up the front, they've got their shit together a bit more. You hear boop, 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 boop. And then you hear back. Whoosh. Boom. And the auto fire at the front stops. And there's lots of shouts of pain.
Okay.
And much profanity and all the rest. Okay, next round.
All right. So in the back once again. Now refresh my memory, Colin. I apologize. Is it round?
Yep.
It is round by round initiative, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's a 6 plus 2, 8.
You go first.
All right.
So you got the Marine on the gun.
First shot's a miss with a 5. Second shot is a 7. Did a 7 hit?
No.
No.
You need 8 or more with all the bonuses and stuff.
Okay. And no bonuses to that from him. Nothing with that. Okay.
Well, I guess you need 10 plus. So it's with his skill and the fact that the thing is mounted and all the rest. It gives it bonuses, and the fact that it's a large target, being a truck.
All right.
So yeah. But yeah, he just fired. Boop, 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 boop. Still has a suppressive effect, but it doesn't hit anyone.
Okay.
Well, not anyone that he's aiming at. There might be someone back there having a cup of coffee or something, and
yeah.
they're having their morning tea, and 50 cal comes running through the wall. But yeah, okay. So now the guy with the RPG pops up, and he fires, but he will miss. But it goes somewhere. That's the thing about explosives.
Yeah.
They always go somewhere. RPG, category 2. All right. Misses are 1d6 times 4 meters away.
Adam over on Facebook says, when Ma Deuce talks, everyone listens. Unfortunately, when Comrade Reactivni Profetagania Grantanomet talks, it tends to talk a little louder.
Okay, so he fires the RPG, and it falls 16 meters short. So basically, it falls in between, just at the base of the truck. So you've got the truck here and the Hummer there, and it falls just in front of the truck. So he fires, and obviously put off by being shot at. He fires, and it goes into the ground.
Okay.
Okay, next round.
7 initiative total.
Okay, you see McPherson, he's lifted up the tarp, and he's jumping out, but towards the front. He's obviously going towards the front Hummer. Whether to render aid or pick up a gun or something, you don't know, but he's just gone off there.
Okay.
Apart from Donovan, you are the senior guy here. You know this. You know that immediately. There's no other officers in the group. So in terms of you might, how you judge competence, and that is up to you. But you're the guy who should be in charge, apart from Donovan.
All right.
But yeah, McPherson's just starting to crawl out that way.
Okay. Well, I'm going to push a tent flap aside, a canvas flap aside, and I'm going to yell to Donovan, I'm not sitting in this truck waiting to die. If I'm going to die, it's going to be on my feet.
He's back with you. Yeah, he says, sounds fair.
And our third, is she following along?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alia, yeah. And there's two others as well that you haven't been introduced to them yet.
Okay.
Alia will follow you, yeah.
All right, so looking...
Okay, so that's your action this round. You're gonna peek out and jump and run to the front.
Okay. Looking forward.
Yeah.
How did the RPG catch the Humvee? Did the block eat most of it and it's just wrecked to shit? Or is it just like there's a crater with a couple of tires lying in it?
The RPG is not that big. So it looks like, as far as you can gather, the RPG probably struck the front of the vehicle.
Okay.
So you think it's probably wrecked the two guys in the front, but there'll be another two guys in the back and the guy on the gun. At the moment, you can't see if the guy on the gun is still up. You can't tell if he's slumped down because he's dead or if he's slumped down because he's behind the cupola.
Okay.
You can't tell. In that quick glance, you can't tell.
And this is...
But there hasn't been firing, so...
So these Humvees have got the urban kit on them, so it's kind of a full...
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But an RPG at the front will still, discomfort the guys in the front seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
If nothing else.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to move. I'm gonna, as quickly as I can, move so that I am... The Humvee in front, the wrecked Humvee in front, is still between me and whatever's coming towards it.
Well, there's the truck as well. Remember, the truck as well as the body of the truck. There's the engine at the front and all the rest. You can sort of...
But because I'm
skating along, you're keeping your body next to the side of the truck.
Yeah.
Then there will be some cover, except from even directly ahead, there'll be some cover in that.
Okay. I'm going to get on the rear of the Humvee and belly crawl up and look down in the cupola. Do I see?
Yeah, take your time. Okay, so this round we'll be getting out of the truck and just running up to the Hummer, and then we'll assume that you're standing behind it.
I got you.
So that you're on the those guys. Yeah.
Okay,
so that'll be that round. So you and the team do that. The guys at the back will continue firing at the truck.
Okay.
At the truck behind. So initiative.
6 total.
Yep, you go first.
All right. For my guy on the 50, that's a miss with the first shot. And that's a miss with the second shot.
Or I tell you what you got, because you might have got a stoppage as well.
Oh, okay. I got a 5 and a 5.
5 and 5. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. So it's a new equipment, so a stoppage on 3+, but he's firing auto, so it's a stoppage on 4+. So if you get a raw roll of 2, 3, or 4, then it's a stoppage.
I just wish it could have been a Mark 19. That would have made hosing the bad guys just all the better.
Well, even the 50 cal's a bit marginal for urban warfare because the chances of collateral damage are pretty significant.
Yeah, 50 caliber bullet tends to keep going in the direction it wants to.
Yeah. All right, so
Mark 19 might be a bit much in a city square.
Okay, so the guy who was on the RPG is busy reloading it. So, he's ducked down behind all the crates and all the rest that are on the truck. But you can see, you see your arm come up with a rocket in it, like he's
right
with a grenade in it, and so he's obviously reloading it.
Okay.
All right, you guys get out and go to the front. You see there's, it's not a UN truck. It's just a local vehicle, just a little van. And there's these guys who've piled out of the van. There's one who's just firing from the cabin of the vehicle, but then there's a couple of guys on either side of the van. One has got an RPG, the others have got AK-47s. You see those guys there.
Okay.
All right. So, as you come up to the Hummer, you can now see that the gunner who was on it, that guy, he's slumped over it, and there's blood going down his neck, and he's got a lifeless body. Whether he's unconscious or dead, you don't know, but he's obviously out. Probably concussion, if nothing else. Concussion from the explosion has taken him out. Okay, so next round, what are you guys going to do?
I am going to attempt to take his place. I mean, even if it just means leaning over and grabbing the butterfly trigger, or just however I can on the 50, and if the 50 will fire, I'll start working these guys, these bad guys in front over.
Right, so you'll climb up there, that'll be an action, and then moving him out of the way, pushing him down into the vehicle, which is probably good for him anyway, to be undercover now, will also be another action. So that'll be two actions, and that'll be your actions for the round. Right, the other guys huddle behind the vehicle as they're all unarmed. There is one Marine lying on the ground on the right-hand side of the vehicle, and he's obviously badly wounded. He's obviously been thrown from the vehicle, or he was getting out when the RPG came, or something like that. You don't know, but yeah, the right-hand door side is open, so that he would have been the driver, so he's out. And on the ground. You can tell one of the other guys. There's 6 other people here, so there's 5 others in the team plus Donovan.
Yeah, whichever one of them is close enough, I'll yell, "Get that guy under cover."
All right, so that'll be McPherson will go because he's the biggest guy. He's the biggest, strongest guy. You probably want him dragging your ass out from under fire. So, all right, so McPherson will run forward and then drag him back.
Okay. Initiative time.
Okay, initiative. This is very important. This initiative because you've got all these guys without body armor on and who are unarmed.
Got a 7.
Awesome. Oh, okay, so you go first. All right, so McPherson runs out and he grabs the Marine and he drags him by his webbing back behind the vehicle.
Okay.
Well, the occasional bit of desultory fire coming at him. You climb up the back of the Hummer. You come to the driver. He's well and truly unconscious and bleeding out of his ears.
Okay.
Okay, you could just pull him off and then drop him down through the turret.
Done.
You can't reach around him because he's in the way.
Sure,
but you could drop him down.
Yeah, I mean, and
you can kneel on top of the Hummer, fire from behind the car.
Yeah.
You do that next round.
That's
all right.
What I'll be doing.
So at the back of the line, whoosh, boom, and it misses. It falls short again. These guys keep firing short. Boom. So you don't hear any screams of pain from the Marines or anything back there.
Well, that's good.
Oh yeah. And then on your side.
I was just going to say, oh yeah, for the guys on, or are you rolling now for the guys in the back of the convoy?
Yeah, rolling it for them at the back because you can't see them.
Sure. No, I understand.
I'll let you roll for your guys if you can see them, but you can't see them because there's a truck in the way, and you're looking forwards anyway, and they're behind. All right. So now it's your turn to fire.
All right. Got a 10.
10. Brass them up nicely. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Roll for injury. Was the guy at the front with an RPG about to fire?
Yes, it was, and he gets a 4.
Okay, so he gets a minor wound, so that'll put him off, but won't stop him.
Well, I get another shot, don't I?
All right, so everyone in the region gets an attack when it's under fire, but it's an attack at -4. So you can do another 2 attacks for guys that you can
says,
see.
are we watching Kyle's combat system? Yes, we are playing Conflict. We'll be wrapping this up shortly, but you can
do another 2 shots, because anyone moving through your beaten zone of your machine gun. So then that's another 2 guys. So do another 2 shots.
All right. Can I just keep shooting at the RPG guy and make sure he doesn't get up?
That's not the way because you're doing a beaten zone. You're going.
Fair enough.
Firing over all of them.
Okay. Miss with a 5.
Yeah.
And miss with a 4.
Okay, so 4, you go stoppage.
Okay.
You'll have to spend an action next round going and reloading
reach over and
pull
the bolt back. Pull the bolt back, reseat the belt in the next round.
Yeah, Link is a big pain in the ass. Always gets tangled up.
Oh, I can imagine.
All right. So 50 cal, I wouldn't know, but I assume it's the same. Okay. So they're under fire. They're all inhibited. This side has only got readiness 1. So where they're under constant fire, they don't do anything. All right. So next round, initiative.
6 total.
Okay. You win initiative.
All right.
On the other side, you hear some yelling in Frankostani on your side. It's obviously someone behind the van trying to rally the troops, so to speak, and try to lend them some readiness because they're under fire, so they're not doing anything.
Well, I know that this isn't.
He's trying to bring them together so they'll actually do something in the next round.
I know that this is not Hollywood, and that there is no such thing as shelter behind automobile, that a 50 cal bullet will not hesitate as it moves through some shitbox Chinese or Japanese made delivery van. So that person yelling just did the worst possible thing in combat he could do. He brought attention to himself.
So you're going to direct fire like through the van, basically, rather than
I'm going
just
to
doing it automatically.
Yeah, action 1, clear the jam. Action 2, drill him, hopefully.
Yeah, so you can fire at somebody through a wall. You're firing blind, you're at -4. But when you're firing auto and doing the beaten zone, you attack everyone in that zone at -4 anyway. So you're just firing blind. Yeah.
All right, so
so guys who don't know, there's cover from fire and cover from view. Cover from view is like, you just have a black cloth over you, but that's not going to protect you from any fire, but it will stop them sort of aiming at points. It'll make it harder to hit you because they don't have that center of mass to aim at. But when they hit you, it still hurts just as much. And then there's cover from fire. So if you've got a big steel plate and they're throwing rocks at you, it just bounces off. That's cover from fire. Whether it acts as cover from fire depends what you're firing and what it is. And as Bill said, a 50 cal is just going to go through a regular vehicle, not through the engine block, but or the transaxle, but it'll go through the rest of the vehicle. There's a bunch of crazy Russian dudes who go out and fire their AKs and RPGs and things like that, and they wanted to see what a vehicle would stop. There's a video on YouTube of it, and basically, the engine block and the transaxle and the rear wheel assembly that stopped the bullets. But the rest it just went through. On the other hand, it did divert the bullet, so it goes through the door, but then all over the place. So it becomes a real chance thing. But the round that hits you just by chance hurts as much as the one that hits you on purpose. So, all right, blat.
And I got a 10.
Awesome. All right, so you hit somebody, throw 1d6 for the damage you do to him.
3.
Right, he goes down. So you hear the orders that were being shouted stop being shouted. And instead you just hear a shout of,
Now, let me ask you, just for context. Well, two things I need to ask you. Are we coming to a point where we can pause? And the next question is, without breaking the game, can I snap the 50 at, like, not trying to get an extra action in or anything? This is really more soliloquy, but just rotate it towards the RPG guy and just yell over the general din, "Don't!"
So you could do that.
Then I will do that.
Mouthing off is always a free action. Mouthing off and posturing is always a free action.
Well, this is posturing.
Right.
I'm just shaking my head vigorously. Don't!
Okay, so morale check. Yeah, okay. All right, this hasn't turned out the way the squad of Righteous Fury quite expected. Them being with them being brassed up like this, and the boss being taken out. This has turned out a lot messier than they had hoped. So those guys turn around to flee.
I will let them go and immediately start tending to the wounded guys in the Humvee as best I can.
Okay, so you do that. And 10 minutes later, another bunch of Marines in Hummers show up. And they push the burning van aside because, you set fire to something when you were firing through it. They push the burning van aside, and some medics come along and help the wounded guys. And so there's 4 dead Squad of Righteous Fury guys at the back, and there's 2 at the front here. Tend to the wounded, and those guys will all survive.
Oh, thank
because none of them were badly hit.
Whew.
Yeah, your Marines will always all survive. So clear it all up, and then after that you go back in an expanded column. Somebody's towing this Hummer. This Hummer's fucked. The engine's all wrecked. You go in an expanded column with with an extra 4 Humvees and the medics and everything to over to the base.
Okay.
Like that. And there's a lot of sarcastic comments of, so much for the green zone and all the rest.
I think, I just look over at him when I'm safing the 50 cal and just tell him, I think your goddamn green zone just got a hell of a lot more red.
No shit, man. No shit. All right.
That was intense.
That's it for a second.
That was intense. That got my adrenaline going, too. That was as good as like firing up a Far Cry game and just having a blast at some bandits in it. Definite thumbs up, folks. Get yourself a copy of Conflict. It is a hell of a good RPG. And Kyle, where can we get that? Where can the punter pick up a copy of Conflict?
Get it at Drive-Thru and Lulu. You could just look. You could look up my name, Kyle Schuant, as an author, and you'll come across a few game writings. One of which is Conflict. There's another one which is more Thespy, Conflict in a person's place in it, but that's more of a guide for role playing. And this is the tactical one. This is the one that you want, which is here. That's the one that you want. That's the cover you're looking for. Yeah, you can find it on Lulu in print, which I recommend, or on Drive-Thru in PDF.
Yep, and it is tons of fun.
Recurve popped in at the last minute and said, "Who's the Squad of Righteous Fury?" Recurve, just to avoid offence to anyone, we've set the conflict in a fictional country called Frankistan, a former Soviet republic where there's an ongoing conflict, and the Squad of Righteous Fury is one of the insurgent groups, one of the more well-organised insurgent groups that just brassed up Bill's character as he had arrived in the country and was on his way to the base.
Yep. And intense stuff. Thank you, Kyle, for running this tonight. We can pick it up again next week. If you guys would like to see more, whether you just joined the live stream and you've got to go back and you've got to watch the whole thing again to pick the game up at the beginning, or whether you've been with us all the way, if you want to see more Conflict next week for Wastrel Wednesday, just say so. Just post a comment. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. That always helps with the Google Analytics. And that's the same goes for you folks over on Facebook. We had good engagement over on Facebook tonight. Adam and Aaron Smith Adam Saline and Aaron Smith were both in. But anybody, you know, if you want to conflict, if you want to see us play D&D, if you want to just see us bullshit around,
D&D or bullshit. Those are the three basic options.
Conflict, D&D, or bullshit. It doesn't matter. The only thing I can't get that I probably couldn't get Kyle to do that I normally do is paint miniatures. But I'll do some of that tomorrow. I'll come in at lunchtime tomorrow and paint miniatures with you guys. But thank you everyone who was here. Thank you as always to co-host Kyle. We're gonna bop on over to J.S. Shiro's live stream here in just a few minutes. So J.S. Shiro Finney, very funny, great science fiction author. He's a swell guy. Come find his live stream on YouTube, and we'll see you guys over there. So have a great evening, everyone. Love you all. Mean it. Peace. Take care.
Thanks for listening.